Welcome back. Now, earlier on in the news review segment, we were talking about, we mentioned, some of the headlines and we're referring to fuel price hikes and so on and so forth. It's a major problem. And a lot of Ghanaians are very disturbed by what is going on as far as the fuel is concerned. All over the country, there's, people are upset about this. The IES says that the fuel price hikes will continue because government has no plans to address it. And I'm just going to quickly read from here. The Institute of Energy Security is worried the government may not have an immediate solution to the consistently rising fuel prices at the pump. The prices have been on a steady rise since April of this year, 2021, leading to complaints about hardships from Ghanaians. Now, currently, a litre of petrol and diesel is selling at 6 cedis 80 pesos at the various filling stations. The opposition NDC has accused the government of insensitivity as a result. Now, the government is subsequently promised the removal of the price stabilization and recoveries levies component of the fuel prices only for only 2 months. But the executive director of the IES, Nana Amoisi the 7th, fears government's approach is a knee-jerk one. If care is not taken, we will see this price surging on the market consistently. You will ask how the government will negotiate to resolve the situation, but unfortunately, the government sits today. Where the government sits today, it will be able to reduce taxes by more than 10%. These taxes by more than 10%, and the approach the government has taken, we call it knee-jerk because it's not sustainable. There are other things the government must do to ensure that fuel prices remain stable. You can take away all the taxes, but trust me, he says, because we have mechanisms that have broken down, we will still come to the same 6 cedis 80 pesos per litre in less than 6 months because we have become price takers, he emphasized. All right. The NPA, that's the National Petroleum Authority, has disclosed that President Akufo-Addo has approved the removal of the price stabilization levy on petrol, diesel, and LPG for 2 months. Now, we have a report from Takrady and the people's, reaction to all of this.
Because fuel issues are, bread and butter issues.
Yes.
Because the moment fuel prices go up, it means that every other thing is also going up.
Yep.
Now the problem is salaries remain the same. Now we are even getting some kind of caution from the finance ministry. That government payroll is choked.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
There are genuine hardships in the system. So if we have to deal with things like that, then we have a problem. And that is what is causing agitations, among Ghanaians, among citizens, because that is the reality. Now, when you go to the pumps, you have to pay extra. I don't know how much it takes to fill your tank. You understand?
now, okay, so a couple of years ago, with 100 Ghana cedis, my tank would virtually be almost full. Now, 100 cedis buys what? About 3 gallons?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, quite honestly. So there you have the breakdown of the fuel prices from June to October this year. We're looking at 1st June to 15th June. This was the price that you can see. It was 6 cedis, 6.2 cedis on there. Then it jumped in the following week, on the 16th to the 30th. It jumped to 6.3. Then it jumped to 6.4 in July. First 2 weeks of July, 6.4. Then it jumped again in in the second week of July. Third to fourth week of July, it jumped again to 6.5. And then you see a slight decrease there in the first 2 weeks of August, drops again in the second part of August, drops again, stable throughout September, and then it starts to climb again in the first week of October. So and right now what we see there is the first 2 weeks of October, it was 6.6. All right. Now it's 6.8, and I what it says in the news in the CNR is actually correct, because yesterday I was out and I saw it myself. Bought fuel at 6.8.
So you realize that the price varies every 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay, so every 2 weeks we have
There's a shift.
I mean,
Somehow.
figures are
and
moving
mostly
around
it's going
and
up.
all that.
Mostly it's going up.
Of course. Now, we've been joined by our very own Kojo Akoto Boate. I mean, Kojo, I'm sure that you can find us some of the answers that we are asking, you know. So let's just go straight to the breakdown, what we just saw. Why do we keep having, you know, like every 2 weeks there's something different happening. Every 2 weeks there's price change and all that. What is really going on? What accounts for this?
Well, if you check the NPA's website, anyway, today's your birthday. Let me wish you a happy birthday.
I thought you'd forget.
I won't forget.
Thank you very much.
And for your birthday present, I hope that maybe Ghana discovers more oil and will become a net exporter of oil.
Oh, not.
Or I'm coming so that
Okay.
our energy prices may drop. Or somebody.
I hear first nothing will happen.
Or
So.
somebody dashes you a brand new Tesla. You know, electric Tesla, so that
Now
I don't
you're
have to worry
talking.
about
Now you're talking. The oil one is long time. Oh, I'm like 45. The Tesla for me today, of course. So let's go to our
Anyway,
figures. Yeah.
So if you check the NPA's website, they usually publish the petroleum price indicators, right? So for if you check the website now, they have the petroleum price indicators as of 18th October 2021, which is just about 2 days ago.
Yeah.
They also have the exchange rates. They have the ex-pump prices computation template.
Okay.
And then they have the price build-up. And then they have indicative prices for the various windows. The last indicative price that came was for the 1st to 15th of October window. And they have other things. So all these things give you a sense of where we are going. The Forex is, we are importing the products. So depending on the exchange rates, the price in the local market could go higher. That's one. Now, the other thing is, if the prices on the world markets go up, it impacts what is happening here. If you look at recent history, for example, the war in Iraq shot up global oil prices,
Yes.
which actually led to the death of the Hammer brand in the US, if you read about it, because it uses a lot of fuel. It was growing. They were selling about 70,000 cars a year, and then the war in Iraq came, prices went up. It didn't make sense for people to buy. GM filed for bankruptcy, a lot of things happened.
I remember
So
that.
whatever happens on the global market has an effect on all markets. And currently, there is something happening on the global markets which is shooting up prices. One of them is China.
Okay.
China is stocking up on their fuel reserves to be able to meet their needs for winter. Number two, China is going through a lot of their own version of doomsday. They are unable to generate enough electricity for industry, and they are, I won't say shedding load, but shedding load, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. And so they need to stock up. Now, as they stock up and remove a lot of the product from the market, it has demand and supply implications, which is also going to contribute to. So there are different factors. One of the larger ones for the market is the leading economy in the world now, China, which is also causing those things. So that is one. Now, number two, if you come to the local space, we have all the issues that we've been dealing with since I was born. Energy debt recovery levy, whatever levy. If I take you through the levies, we have the energy debt recovery levy, we have the road fund levy, we have the energy fund levy, we have the price stabilization and recovery levy, which the government wants to take off.
Scrapping.
You have the newly introduced sanitation and pollution levy. You have the energy sector recovery levy. So there's an energy debt recovery levy and an energy sector recovery levy.
What's the difference anyway?
I'll tell you the difference. Let me just run through. Then there's a special petroleum tax. Primary distribution margin. The margins usually work within the industry. So if I'm an oil company, primary distribution margin, the bust margin goes to bust because they are the bulk oil storage and transport company. That ensures that we distribute the oil in bulk across. We have the fuel marking levy. Fuel marking is supposed to help them to color the fuel so that it basically helps us to check on adulterated fuel and those matters. There's a marketer's margin. If a Total or a Shell or a Goil or they are oil marketing company, they have to put their margin on it because they're also managing outlets, branding and all those things, paying their staff. And then there's the dealers or retailers margin. So if you walk down here to the Abdabrakat Total, the dealer also has to have a margin so that he can also keep his business running, paying for electricity, water, rent and all those things.
Salaries.
So all these things contribute to the cost of fuel here. Now, if we bought a liter of fuel, say, on the world market for 1 Ghana cedis, we are going to calculate all these things on that.
And then pay 6 point something.
So in the, no, not 6. So at the moment, I think I can pull the actual price on the world market for you. So for example, if you get the product for, say, 14, I'll get it for you. In fact, in the end, if you put all these margins together, it's almost 50% of the price you are paying. So that's the point.
Wow.
So if we bought the fuel for 1 Ghana cedi, all the levies will come, all the margins will come, and it will shoot up the price to almost 100%. So you may end up selling for 2 cedis.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if we need to deal with oil prices, there is the issue of the world market dynamics that we have very little control of. Now, for example, GMPC says the new ACA deal is going to add 200,000 barrels to our production. If we are able to produce more oil locally and become net exporters, maybe we can decide to be like the Venezuelans or the Dubais and the Abu Dhabis, where because they are huge exporters of oil, the country makes a decision that we are going to sell our oil cheaper to ourselves so that we don't spend a lot more money. That's one. But we don't have those reserves and the capacity to do that now. So we need to look at managing our space and our levies such that we don't go through this. Why are we paying energy debt levy, energy debt recovery levy? Because we've mismanaged our energy sector. We made it a place where politicians siphoned money and made money through all sorts of dubious deals that we have to pay through buying fuel and other things.
So the only thing we can do now to manage the situation is the taxes.
I think that the only thing we can do now really is the taxes, because look, the products we are buying from elsewhere, we are not net exporters of, we produce some oil, but our needs are not met by our production. So we import the product.
But I can't substitute in any way, or it's not enough?
No. So, it's not enough. The dynamics are way different.
So Kojo, the problem we are facing today, is it as a result of a global impact or local mismanagement, or both?
Both.
It's both.
The global prices have gone up, so we bring the products in, and all these levies are applied on the global price, right? So if the global price was lower, then these levies and the taxes and the rates may be lower. Exchange rates, the global price was, say, $1, then you are not finding a lot more dollars to buy the product into the market. So that's a given. But if you look at some of the root causes as to why we need all these levies, for example, sanitation and pollution levy. We've mismanaged the sanitation sector. We've managed our environmental sector such that we were getting into trouble. We mismanaged urban planning such that we couldn't even manage the urban spaces and the waste we generated here. And when we were looking for an alternative to deal with pollution, we looked at the lowest hanging fruits where we can easily get money. And one of the lowest hanging fruits really is fuel. Everybody is buying fuel, whether you are buying directly or you are taking trotro, everybody is spending on that. So we put a levy on that so that we can get about 800 million to about 1 billion Ghana cedis to deal with waste. Now the question is, how long do we intend to have this levy on our petroleum prices? We have the energy debt recovery levy. We know how we mismanage TOR. We know how we mismanage our energy sector and all that. The reforms that we called for, how did we execute these reforms such that we clear the legacy debts in the energy sector to not continue to be an albatross around our necks? That's also one. Road fund levy, it's legitimate. We buy fuel, we use the roads, we need to maintain the roads, so road fund levy. But even that, people are asking, how do we account for some of these levies?
Okay, Kojo, you know what? Well, let's go to Takoradi right now. I want to hear from the people on the ground. What's their experience? What are they going through? What are the things that they feel? What's the angst, amongst the general population in Takoradi? Let's take a look at the report from Takoradi.
I want to tell the government that when they were coming on power, they told us that when they come, things are going to be easy for us. But right now, the system is hard. This afternoon, I picked a taxi going to town, and the price was so high. So I'm asking Nana Akufo-Addo to calm down and reduce the prices for us, the fuel prices, everything, because we don't want it to look like they've disappointed us.
I have noticed the increment in fuel prices, and as you know, it has unbearable consequences on the citizen. Now, when you buy a gallon of fuel, you are even afraid because you will not even use it for any lengthy rounds that you have. And we believe that the government should act. This is what we have been calling for. Nothing too much to request from the government. That you should help the people you are governing, at least to get these things done, these things sorted, so that we can be happy living in our own country. Else, we'll be leaving this country, finding somewhere else to go.
I would say, what to fuel lumina, I don't know. I'm a Siciano, Edumana, Siciani now, I don't know. I can fuel lum. About Puna, I bet you fuel, and I bet you can have a niscan. I would have no, I would know meeting poor boa, meeting about to make a crab, but I would have an ebon, I was a panda man, a duke of Fina, Dobanama, or her hand. Chiasabano, Momod Nana, Adibia over to my phone, we are one boy, a cran, yellow black, yellow black. Sunday, this is to me, a huge money affairs upon coffee, the mala. Yellow black to one moment, Nana, one boy, and this is a fool. The way I look on all band of my hand, I was so you, a human in your door. To one male black party, one moment, Nana, one boy.
Now, what's in there? Petrol not buying what to them. I mean, my movement there was a taxi brain, no good. Now, I see a petrol near to say, you do also. Yabaka. Sunday, a beef and dropping, if a drop is in as though, almost 50, so there be, Madame Hutchim, they won't there in Pacuna, in Bacana, so there are mobile 10, no, I'm about 15 or mobile 10 cities, because I'm so or bread, and once because of San Kobe and Chabano, obey here then Kobe, damn tax nephew, and I'm boyam drivers, and I'm a young commodore. Hey, I buy more, I'm a fool, no, I'm from Kra, I'm a young Maya Dinamaya. Sabia you were hearing them from a Yashawan, Sashi Yashan, in our food finade. You know my agent, because I took to one gallon to sell out. Say being as to one gallon to sell, Master M. who there, full pool, canum, Jamadi, and some say, Yama Maya, the young Poliosu, Pagafuna Wosu. I look at truck there, go for complaint, be on there. Oh, yeah, Tete. I had to take part of Banamashana, where you touch next to the man, put on one before, and see how the same.
This is a fool, no, to the fat, no white, no papa. This is a Yeska, a Malay boy in Yeska. Now, this is a high and domino. You need Abu Papa, Pada, you there, fool and water todo, I'm a hen. And this is why they told that you could my Yeska, the car gave me and you do a fire tree. I'll go away by your Baba J. You who are died, you took me a scare idea, and just a the slab and that. I'm about to 400 man. The young tomb, you be a function in a yamba. This is a Yeska, and the bus and that. This is as you call them to call. That's all to my father. Corner yet. And the baby, I can't why Bassa, why I can't device to Jason, Pepper. I will do me a court, Mampon. And shoot out, and do me a court. This is a one gas pipe in the hot gas pipe, and this is that was the chest gas pipe from her. I can't chasing her. It's a slab and that. I'm over there and more cars. I do my pun. That was in your black. The Bassana. I'm boy. We'll put to some. So when 2 1 boy hand there, I know about the papa. It's a white number hand. Then a white number hand.
Right, so that is the mood in Takoradi over the increasing rate of fuel prices in the country, Kojo. So you heard residents of Takoradi. I mean, I was saying earlier that fuel issues are bread and butter issues because it affects anything, anybody, everything, you know, and this is the mood right now. And I don't think this is peculiar to only Takoradi.
I want to move food from the market, and I guess an Aboboya, it's running on fuel.
Yeah.
He will charge me based on the fuel price.
Yeah.
Then if I get it to my warehouse and I'm moving into other spaces, you charge for it.
Maybe sometimes the machines you are using on the farm,
yes,
you know,
yes.
you have to power it as well.
Have an impact even on construction costs,
Yeah.
on everything. But if you look at our environment as well, there are other things that are making us feel the pinch a bit more. For example, traffic. If you are going home and you set off from Adabraka to wherever you are going, for example, me, I drive 24 kilometers to work, 24 out. If I set out in the morning and there's no traffic and I can do the journey in 35 minutes to 45 minutes, I'm not spending as much time on the road with my engine running. So the rate of consumption of my fuel will be low. So I may not even feel the pinch much. If there was a proper public mass transportation system where I don't have to drive, but join these buses and pay 5 cedis instead of burning, say, 3-4 liters to work, which cost me 1 liter is about 6 cedis, right?
6.8,
which costs me almost 30
cedis.
cedis. I'm saving 25 cedis riding the public bus, so I won't feel the pinch.
But you know, I kept asking myself, why is it so difficult to implement? I mean, public transport system.
We've not prioritized those things, and I'll give you examples. When we decided that elections were more important to us than anything, in the course of COVID, we're registering people and building a new
we found ways to do that.
Voter registration system. So what we prioritize is what we do. And I don't see leadership of the country over the years prioritizing some of these things. So the problem is there, but there are ways to mitigate the effects of the problem by introducing things that people can then fall on, so that not everybody is driving to work every day. We create multimodal transport that serves the market woman, that serves the business executive, that serves the school child, that serves everybody. It's shared because we are pulling our resources together to pay fares for a bus, which reduces the cost on us. We invest in traffic management systems which will reduce traffic, such that if we don't have even the multimodal transport, if we don't have the bus transit systems, we are not spending 3 hours in traffic and burning 3 hours worth of fuel, but you're rather spending about an hour in traffic and burning an hour's worth of fuel. That way, your fuel consumption for the month is reduced by about 50 to 60%. So even though the price is at 6 liters, you don't really feel it that much. So world prices are there. Our mismanagement of certain sectors that has required us to put levies on fuel prices is there. And our continuous mismanagement of the urban space and not putting in place things that would help us reduce the effect on us is also there. So I'm predicting that the way Accra is going, in the next 10 years, people will start running away from this city. The way Kumasi is going, in the next 10 years, people will start running because it rains and it floods. If it doesn't rain, you're going to work and you're doing 6 hours in and out of work. It's not sustainable for people. We are spending almost all our money buying fuel and all the productive time in traffic. And then those who pick up health implications are also spending money on healthcare. So you can put the fuel down as this milk. The cost of the milk is the cow you are feeding and everything. But the effects of the price is that sometimes you don't have this spoon to manage the milk. You don't have this mug to manage the milk. So you feel the effect more. So we are managing fuel prices, but we should also think about what we use fuel for and some of the other drivers of the extra cost on us, and remove those drivers in the system.
So we'll come back to those drivers, you know, the things that we are using fuel for. But let's now go to Tamale. Dana Ngwan has been talking to residents there as well.
From the beginning of this year, there has been constant increase in fuel prices. Goods and services have also been affected. Just this weekend, fuel prices have shot up again. We are within the Tamale metropolis finding out from drivers, riders and commuters on the impact of the fuel prices on their businesses and their livelihood.
The cost of fuel is very high because people are struggling, because last time they give us a specific price that we take from the passengers, and it was higher. Passengers they could not afford. So we used our own mind to adjust the price to 70 cedis. Up to now, people are still complaining about the price. So now, right now, the drivers and we are struggling. We are struggling a lot. We cannot achieve what we want. We are struggling. So we are appealing to government to bring down the fuel price for us.
So the increase affects the drivers and the car owners all. When the driver used to go road and come, first the money where they have, they won't get it. When they come, when you reduce the money from the owner of the driver, it will be annoying. So, in fact, the diesel increasement is affect all of us. Now we are here. The passenger, instead of the way they have been coming, they are not coming again. They say no money to travel. When they buy the things, they no sell. How can you travel? And the fare too is increased.
Well, for the fuel, we depend on fuel to run our business. but actually, throughout the year, the fuel price hasn't been stable at all. It has not been stable at all. And we are feeling it. We are feeling it because we are battling things with the yellow in Tamale here. And the way the fuel prices are increasing, actually it's affecting business. Always the fuel prices are increasing, always. You may know the price today, tomorrow you go, it won't be the same. So actually it's killing business.
We are suffering. It is not the distance, the way it has been increasing. It doesn't favor any of us. Can't you see? The whole of today, maybe it's about 2 or 3 cars go to Saviligo. The rest of us, we are sitting here. Maybe we may not even go up to maybe the next day. It's only the market day that the market is good. But sometimes, but during the whole of a week, maybe it may favor you maybe once or twice.
Right, so this is what residents in Tamale also have to say, and the mood generally looks the same. You know, it feels the same because we are all feeling the pinch. This is Breakfast Daily. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation.
All right, welcome back. And we're talking fuel and its impact, the price increases and the impact on everything that we're doing in our society. It's crazy. You know, from you see Takoradi have been complaining, Tamale are also complaining. Everybody.
I'd really love to hear what people in Accra are saying, because you know the cost of living in Accra is extremely high, and so it appears if people, you know, in other parts of the country are complaining, I don't know what the call will be in Accra, and I'm sure very soon we'll have a feel of what is going on here as well, and how people feel generally about this.
Yeah, Bakojo. So hearing people's, you know, feelings and emotions about all this. Look, how sustainable is, you know, the trajectory that we are on?
It's not. For example, if you also look at electricity, at the moment, over 50% of the power we produce in this country is from thermal plants. These thermal plants use gas, crude oil, and other hydrocarbons, right? Now, the world prices will affect their cost of production. When they send their next proposals to PURC for tariff reviews, they'll be asking for an upward review of the tariffs. And this is also going to impact work because businesses are using electricity. It's going to impact our lives at home because our homes are powered by electricity. We should be thinking about more renewable sources as a country. We should optimize what we have. For example, in the villages, right? We should be able to have biogas grids for the villages because everything organic can be turned into gas. From our waste, our toilets, from plants when they harvest stuff in the farms.
The waste.
We can use some for compost. We can use some in our biogas system.
Look at how refuse is swallowing us up. You know, we don't seem to know what we are doing.
Yes. So we need to diversify our energy portfolio. Solar, biogas, and other renewable sources. We need to invest in those. And Frema just mentioned refuse. The sanitation and pollution levy that we are paying for as part of our fuel prices. Per my calculation, we are getting close to 1 billion Ghana cedis a year from that. We need to feel the impact of that. The investment in waste recycling plants, the investments in round put systems where our waste is being channeled somewhere for it to be used as compost and possibly gas for energy and all those things. We need to see that, because if we don't wean ourselves off this hydrocarbon industry, and our production also doesn't increase, and we don't have control of our, if we don't get control of our oil and gas resources properly, the global dynamics is always going to have an impact on our economy. People will suffer, and the complaints will continue. So we need to
I want us to dig a bit more into this conversation about renewable energy, renewable energy. But we have on the line with us the Consumer Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Executive Secretary Duncan Amwa. And Duncan, good morning.
Very good morning to you and your team. I think Ojo is doing very good justice to the topic in discussion, and I do think that if Ghana doesn't get a strategy that will work for all of us, these challenges that is confronting the folks in Tamale, in Kumasi, and other parts of the country, especially those of us in Accra, we do not see an end in sight because we have more or less thrown our hands up in despair and waiting for whatever will come from international markets to hit us. That said, we also don't seem to have any very good control over our local currency, the cedi. And then at will, finance ministers are also allowed the space to slap taxes as and when they please. These three that largely determine pump prices, we seem to have lost the plot as a country, and for which reason, although crude prices are up, finished products prices are up per metric ton on the international market. Nigeria, as we speak, is still doing below 16, 17 cedis a gallon. Ghana has crossed 30 already.
Wow.
Our dynamics seem similar. They produce, they export. We produce, we export. They import largely all finished products. We import largely all finished products. It's now that they're probably going to wait for a game changer in the Dangote refinery to localize the crude that they probably would often export. We have a refinery sitting here that we've decided not to pay any attention to. And so our dynamics are similar. Unfortunately, price per liter per pump is quite different, due largely in part to the way we handle our fuel product pricing in the country.
What do you, I mean, you just said largely due to how we handle. How have we handled it that has caused us to have such a vast differential between Nigeria, that's less than 12 hours drive away from, from Ghana?
You see, at the outset of Ghana's oil production, if you recall, former President Kufuor was very, very clear that it was going to be a game changer. For some of us who sit far and observe, the thinking was that, okay, whatever petroleum agreements we would have, we'll also be mindful of the fact that we are a consuming nation. We also need fuel. And so we wouldn't sign everything off, especially additional oil entitlements and our share of the oil. The thinking was that we were going to localize and connect the two streams, the upstream and the downstream, seamlessly using the refinery and possibly one or two tugboats that would pick the crude from the FPSOs to the Tema port. Unfortunately, we seem to have delinked. I don't know if it's as a matter of strategy for us as a country or due to poor foresight, but everything that we produce currently gets exported, the crude. We've had this conversation over and over and over and over again. You cannot continue as a country to produce just the raw material and export, like cocoa. You produce cocoa, export, then you go get chocolate and other cocoa produce. You import from another country that has added a little value, and then you take the valuable dollar you don't have
to go and buy.
So it's a vicious cycle that we found no strategy to contain. We produce crude, we send everything out there to Europe. Then we go back to Europe with a long haul vessel to go and import what they have refined. Meanwhile, you have a refinery commissioned in 1963 sitting here that we have no use for. So we are more happier producing wealth or creating wealth for our friends in Europe, the refineries in Europe, because we are buying virtually everything from Europe. So whatever it costs them to turn the crude to finished product, we want to pay for it. Then we'll pay for logistics. We'll pay for the freight, we'll pay for insurance, we'll pay for other contingent liabilities that we put everything and bring it back to West Africa. Then it gets here, we do not even have a way to track, to say that as a country that consumes almost 5 billion liters a year, right? 5 billion have entered the system.
Yeah.
Everything, every tax is paid on it. We allow certain pockets of holes. So of the 5 billion that Ghanaians consume, about 3.2 billion is what government gets taxes on. The rest of the liters, you don't get anything. And so at the end of the year, the NPA comes back to tell you how much revenue has been lost. In recent times, we were discussing taking out some people's licenses. We said no. These were not licenses procured by ghost angels or aliens. They are licenses procured by Ghanaians. You and I know them. If for a reason the taxes of what they have sold has not been accounted for, you know how to find your money back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we would rather throw out some of the revenue. Then the next fiscal year, finance minister says we are not collecting enough. We don't have enough. We are not generating enough. Let me add more taxes. Then they come to slap sanitation and boiler levy. They come to slap another energy sector levy. Meanwhile, there's already an existing energy debt recovery levy, EDRL, that exists on the price builder.
Yeah.
But because we are not able to manage the energy sector efficiently, like Ojo rightly articulated, we will create more overruns in debts, and then we'll look for the lowest hanging fruit, which is petroleum tax collection, and come and slap it. So until Parliament decides to have a certain law that restricts or prohibits finance ministers from arbitrarily sanctioning or imposing taxes on fuel, we will not be out of this, because current finance minister has unfettered rights to slap even taxes in this time when we are complaining.
Wow.
And Parliament would pass it. So tomorrow you put Kojo there, Kojo also comes there, we are not collecting enough, let's add another 5 cedis. You don't see how this cycle would end, because the strategy we have as a country is simply working against the people. International market prices will work against us. When it goes down significantly, the operators or players within the downstream would often find the excuse that, they made certain losses in the previous month. They couldn't recover all their margins. So when it goes down and they should go down, the excuses will come to play. When it's rising, however, they would rise. Unfortunately, the city, which we should be able to contain, we also don't have a strategy for it. And so we would rather send dollars to Europe to import finished products, whereas a refinery sits here that could be taking that tolling money of processing the crude to finished products. We are just not adapting the right strategy, I'm afraid.
Right, so it's pretty obvious that our problem is a combination of issues. So practically, as things stand now, what should be done beyond Parliament bringing out a law? How do we turn things around?
Yesterday, it was out there that one of the African countries has put out about $230 million to cushion their consumers. You see, you may have your short, medium, and long-term strategies. As we speak today, fuel prices has crossed more than 1 liter for $1. In an economy that doesn't pay in dollar relative terms, that is frightening. Again, fuel prices, we are not out of the woods yet. Could go up again in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, because the same factors that necessitated the current increments are still at play. We've not found any solution to them. So it could go up again. We are not done. It could cross the 7 cities before we hit December.
Wow.
That is frightening. What can be done immediately, if you ask, is to take control of what we have absolute control over, the taxes. The international market price index, you don't have control over, because you are probably a very insignificant player as far as crude politics is concerned. Because you don't even produce enough. You do about 120, 150,000 barrels. Others are doing 10 million, 20 million. And so once that happens, you don't have much of a say out there how much crude or finished products will sell for. That you don't have control. The cedi dollar exchange variable, you have partial control, and that control is to the extent that the Bank of Ghana has dollar to probably cushion, the exchange differentials. If it doesn't have dollar from your cocoa board syndicated money and whatever monies that come through them, I'm afraid the city will be under a lot of pressure because we practically import everything. That determines and you don't have control over. The second one being the forex, you have partial control over. The third item, which is critical, is your taxes. You have absolute control over the taxes. And so if you ask, at this point that drivers are complaining and threatening to even increase transport fares, if I had a way to advise anybody, I would say, look at where you have, the absolute control over, and see if clearly something can be done. And Prima, I believe strongly something can be done, and not in vacuum. As crude prices continue to soar or increase, Ghana, as a net exporter of crude, what we produce is far more than what we consume or import. So as it goes up, it has a certain positive impact on the economy.
Yeah.
Just 2021, second quarter, government was out there happy that it had made $89 million windfall. $89 million in one quarter. So if you add quarter one, quarter two, add quarter three that we just finished or about out, and add the last quarter that we are in, which prices are even higher, it's likely government would have realized in excess of $400 million surplus revenue. The $400 million, if you do your conversion, that's about 2.4 or something billion Ghana cedis. Look at the taxes and say, okay, if I took out the sanitation and pollution 10 pesos, the entire year collection would have been 500 million. If I took it out for a quarter, I'll probably lose about 125, right? Because I'm not taking it out the entire year.
Yeah.
If I took out the energy sector levies that are also slapped, which will produce about 1 billion at the end of the year. If I took it out for 3 months or a quarter, so probably January, February, I would lose about 300 million Ghana cedis. The two will give 40 peso relief. Okay. Let me see if I can take out something else immediately so that the 2.4 billion windfall that I have made on my crude exports, right? If overall I put in $1 billion intervention, the government at the end of the day will still be richer by 1.4 billion Ghana cedis.
Right.
Export revenue from the same revenue basket.
Yeah.
But as we speak, they would rather collect all the windfall and pretend nothing is happening.
Yeah.
They will still want to collect everything from the trotro driver who is already complaining in the name of revenue. Meanwhile, Kojo, we are 2.4 billion Ghana cedis richer simply because crude that we projected 50.4 for this year is around $85. Just do the difference. That's about $35 a barrel.
All right. Duncan, thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing those very insightful thoughts with us. Give us good perspective on what is really happening here. Akojo, you heard Duncan Amwa sort of give us a full spread. What is possible, what's not possible. Of course, the external factors, you can't touch them, but there are things we can do, And so I don't know what the lethargy is about. I'm not sure what the inertia is about.
Sometimes I don't know. Is it that one, we are just opting for the easy way out, or it's just we just don't care.
I mean, you're just being insensitive.
You don't know, because
Ghanaians,
if you look at the things we've just mentioned sitting here, these are things that can easily be done. Turning filth, rubbish into energy, doing other things. I mean, the transport system. We've listed a whole lot of things, and I do not want to believe that those in authority do not know this. If we are talking about it, they know. So what is the problem?
They do know it, but are we demanding?
So what else do we have to do?
If we are getting, let's build up. If we are getting to elections, what is promised us, and what do we hail? And after elections, what do we demand? And what do we hold leadership accountable for?
No, so
Well,
I say that as
good
it
point.
stands, the only thing you probably can do is to wait for 4 years. But within that 4 years, you know, all you can say is, I will not vote for you.
Within that 4 years, people should rise up.
People are rising up. People are demonstrating.
Engage their MPs. People should demonstrate.
But what would you even
if
find
you
them?
demonstrate and you're 100 people and you don't get the results, demonstrate in the thousands. Demonstrate and ask for account of the toll debt recovery levy that we've been paying for years. We've been paying a toll debt recovery levy for years, and we've still not solved the problems at all. If we cannot solve the problems at all, maybe we should burn it. If we cannot burn it and we feel that we need to refine oil here to reduce our costs, then let's ask leadership to account to us and give us a roadmap to fixing toll. You are paying energy debt recovery levy. If you look at the petroleum, the ESLA report for 2020, it's collecting about 1.6 or 2 point something billion Ghana cedis. The projections for 2022, 2.2, 2023, 2.4, we are projecting, so we are collecting monies. The problems for which we are paying these monies have not been solved.
No.
And we are still paying. So we should deliberately be asking for accounts on the various investments we make, because Ghana is a business. We are all shareholders and stakeholders.
Yes.
You have a stake in Ghana. You're a shareholder in Ghana. So if you are paying for something and you are not seeing results, you should be asking for results on that.
Beyond talking about it, you know, we are asking beyond this conversation, beyond people going on demonstration, what else can we do? Because I believe that people are talking, people are complaining. If you turn on your TV, look, I mean, everybody is talking about it. People are hitting the streets. What else should citizens do?
Citizens must, and at this particular point, you cannot, violence is illegal.
No.
So we must use all the legal means available to us to push those who must work to work. If it means even boycotting elections, we must boycott elections. Because you are coming into the elections to seek my vote to make my life better. But if consistently all the parameters are not improving, then it means everybody is failing us.
Because it looks like we are recycling the same people, you know, and that is the issue.
We must radically use every legal avenue to hold leadership responsible and accountable for. Because I do not see why we went to the World Bank way ahead of countries like Tanzania. We took a lot more money from the World Bank than countries like Tanzania, but they have a working BRT system. We do not have a working BRT system.
It makes no sense.
I do not see...
For that, I don't understand why we can't do that. Can we just leave buses to rot?
I do not see the reason why we had a VRA way ahead of every other African country. We had expertise to learn from. We had universities, we had projections, and we still were not able to manage a power sector which is now riddled with a lot of debt, which we are paying for consistently, and we still don't see any result. I do not see the reason why we have not put in place strategies to cushion people in the rural areas and give them better and more renewable sources.
You know, so
meanwhile,
people in the rural areas, but what about those in the urban areas? So Caleb Kuda, you know, is somewhere in Accra. Let's go over to him and hear what others are saying.
Good morning to you, Frema and Kwaku, and we are live indeed here at the New Plant Station here at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, here to have conversations with some of the drivers as well as passengers who do long distance. We're looking at Accra, Takoradi, and various places wherever they ply their trade. And we want to have conversations with them with respect to the recent increases we are seeing in fuel prices, to find out from them if it's having any impact on their business or otherwise. So good to have you. Please tell me your full name and which journey you traverse all the time.
My full name is Prince Ama, and I travel to Accra to Takoradi. Okay. The price is worrying us. If you go, we use all our money for the fuel, so the fuel price have to come down for us, because we are pleading for the president to make something for us. This is what I have.
What kind of car do you drive, and how much do you spend to fill your tank?
I spend $450 to fill my tank if I'm going. I use Toyota. Toyota is. I'm standing beside my car. Okay.
So in, say, June, how much were you spending to fill your tank? Do you remember?
June, Last
this year June. Yeah.
Oh, I use 300 to fill my tank in and out.
So between June and now, you have 150 more.
More, yes, and it is worrying us.
But have you increased the price, the lorry fare, since the increases?
No. We are still taking the old price.
Which is what?
Which is 45 Ghana cedis.
From Accra to Takoradi. So how does that impact your margins?
Oh, it is worrying us, but we are just managing. We are managing, but it is still we are worrying. We are worrying about it. So you have to do something about it.
What should be done for you?
The fuel price have to come down, because if we increase the fare again, our work is going down.
All right, so that's our colleague Caleb Kuda out there at the transport station, getting views from drivers as to what they feel about all of this that's going on. But we're going to take a short break. Don't go anywhere. Breakfast Daily will continue.